Voters do not agree with these despicable women on The View. They are wildly out of touch with the vast majority of Americans, and frankly, they should seek immediate help.
This is why, of course, she's on The View and not working for the most powerful man in the world, because Karoline would wipe the floor with you bitter banshees any day.
Joe Biden knows how to do this. Yes, he knows how to do this. He's quite good at this. And you know, you can't refute anything with him because he just, when I say him, I mean...
He rambles.
Trump.
Yeah.
He tends to just...
But can I mention one thing?
When it comes to social and political topics, Whoopi Goldberg has never been shy about speaking her mind, but this time she walked straight into a tense showdown with Karoline Leavitt, a rising conservative voice who isn't afraid to challenge the mainstream narrative head-on. Unlike a lot of guests who tread carefully, Leavitt came fully prepared. When Whoopi passionately defended wokeness, framing it as a push for equality, fairness, and broader opportunity, Leavitt fired back with her own set of facts, completely shifted the tone of the conversation and left Whoopi with very little room to respond.
I too am a working mom and always have been. I've been a professional woman since I graduated from college or law school. But now there's, I think, a good thing, which is like the restoration of valuing so-called traditional, moms, and that's great. The women who take care of their kids full time. Most of my best friends are doing exactly that. But it seems like in the right, there's like a bit of a shift toward like, you can't do what Karoline's doing. That's actually like an unsafe or a dangerous or a bad choice for families, for children, which I reject wholesale, but you hear it more and more.
Yeah.
Do you hear that?
At the start of the discussion, Whoopi Goldberg came out swinging in defense of wokeness, describing it as a driving force for justice, progress, and giving a real voice to people who were once overlooked. She argued that the opportunities available today, including those enjoyed by Karoline Leavitt herself, are a direct result of that progress. Turning straight to Levitt, Whoopi emphasized that without this kind of awareness many of those doors might still be closed, pointing out that women weren't always welcomed or included in major spaces and that it took years of hard struggle to create opportunities so future generations wouldn't have to fight the same battles.
Reject that it's a bad choice. Is it a tough choice? Absolutely. You know, as a mother, you want to be with your child 24/7. You have that maternal instinct.
27.
Yeah. Not all the time. Well, right now, yes, because he's 7 months and just squishy and lovable, but I'm sure that will change. No, but you know, you do have that maternal instinct, but also recognizing like, I'm doing this work for my son and for all children to make this country better. And it's a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Like plenty of conservative guests before her, Karoline Leavitt initially appeared willing to sit back and hear Whoopi Goldberg out. But that patience ran out fast as she made it crystal clear she wasn't going to let the conversation keep moving without pushing back, stepping in to challenge the narrative directly instead of just letting it slide.
It's temporary, right? In 4 years, my son will be 4 years old and the president will no longer be at the White House. And then I'll move on and do something else. But, you know, this chaos of 24/7 work is a temporary matter. And that's what at least I tell myself to get through these very long and hard days. But I would reject that you can't be a good mom and be good at your job. I think you can do both. It certainly it's not for everybody. And it takes a lot of work and will and faith and prayer. And it's hard, but it can be done. And, you know,
Without a moment's hesitation, Karoline Leavitt pushed back hard against Whoopi Goldberg's argument, showing she wasn't the least bit intimidated by the crowd or the setting. She argued that wokeness isn't really about fairness at all but about control, claiming it pressures people into accepting one approved viewpoint while shutting down anyone who disagrees. She then turned the question back around, asking that if wokeness truly supports women, then why are conservative women so often criticized right there on The View? Her sharp response pointing out the contradiction between being given a voice and then being told to stay quiet for using it differently caught the audience completely off guard and created a moment of real hesitation. For the first time in the exchange, Whoopi didn't fire back immediately. Levitt kept going, arguing that conservative women are regularly dismissed or talked over, and she reminded viewers that the show itself has faced criticism in the past for how it handles opposing voices, which only turned up the heat on an already tense discussion.
I mean, I gotta ask you, because they said it, are you aware of any plots from Elon Musk to push President Trump down the stairs?
Absolutely not. Let me be unequivocally clear about that. And watching this clip, I couldn't help but think how ironic that Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar and the rest of the ladies on The View spend their time calling Republicans the conspiracy theorists. But they have been wrong about everything they have said over the last couple of years. They likened President Trump to Hitler. They have mocked him, they have shamed him, they have lied about him consistently on their show. And it was a joy to watch them on November the 6th when they realized that tens of millions of Americans do not listen to the lies that they have spewed. These women are completely out of touch with.
And here's where it gets even more interesting, because Karoline Leavitt didn't stop there. She flipped Whoopi Goldberg's entire argument by pointing to real-world examples she believed directly challenged it, mentioning cases where teachers, employees, and even students faced real consequences simply for expressing views outside the mainstream and raising serious concerns about workplaces and schools that actively encourage certain perspectives while quietly discouraging others. She added that parents aren't against education, they just want their kids to learn how to think independently rather than being told exactly what to think. She then brought up social media practices, arguing that certain platforms limit or suppress the visibility of voices that don't line up with dominant narratives, which only intensified the atmosphere in the room even further. Turning back to Whoopi, she questioned whether fairness truly applies to everyone or mainly to those who already agree. And when Whoopi tried to jump in, Levitt held her ground and kept right on talking, making it unmistakably clear in that moment that the direction of the conversation had completely shifted.
A lot of women are preparing themselves for the impact of the incoming administration, which has led to this growing mantra from male right-wing incels: your body, my choice. Say that to.
When Whoopi Goldberg sensed the conversation moving away from her, she stood her ground, arguing that wokeness is about correcting the injustices of the past and that without it the progress we have today simply wouldn't have happened, suggesting that the very opportunities available to Karoline Leavitt exist because of those hard-fought efforts. She then made it personal, implying that Levitt may not fully appreciate how much those changes actually benefited her and that earlier generations of women had to fight hard to open those doors, framing any criticism of wokeness as a failure to recognize that history. But Levitt didn't flinch and responded immediately, insisting that her success came from hard work and personal determination rather than the concept Whoopi was defending.
You must have really wrestled with how you were going to meet the high bar set by Karine Jean-Pierre. Was that... Sorry. Was that out loud? No, she was terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So how has your approach differed, would you say?
I think it's vastly different. And if you ask people, even in the legacy media, even the Trump haters, they will tell you the approach has been much different. Not just for me, but the entire White House. Oh, absolutely. They come in my office every day and they'll admit that off the record. Oh. Maybe not on the record, but they will say they appreciate the access and the transparency and the preparation that goes into my briefings and everybody on.
And as soon as that episode aired, Karoline Leavitt became a major talking point almost overnight for standing up to Whoopi Goldberg in a way that very few conservative guests on The View had ever done so directly. A lot of viewers praised her confidence and no-nonsense style, saying she spoke clearly and defended her position without backing down for a single second, while others turned their criticism toward Whoopi, arguing her tone came across as overly emotional. Though Whoopi still had strong backing from people who believed she was simply explaining how social progress has genuinely helped folks from disadvantaged backgrounds, with some suggesting Levitt took the comments too personally. But as media outlets jumped into the conversation, the situation grew even more intense, with conservative platforms celebrating Levitt as a bold rising voice willing to challenge mainstream ideas head-on, while left-leaning coverage painted her as disruptive and more interested in grabbing attention than having a genuine discussion. And across social media, the debate absolutely exploded with reactions, viral clips, and deep-dive analysis of every single moment from Whoopi's expressions to Levitt's delivery to the audience's reaction, turning what started as a heated exchange between two people into a much wider national conversation about wokeness, cancel culture, and media bias. And when all was said and done, one thing stood out loud and clear. Whoopi simply wasn't ready for Levitt's refusal to back down.
To an IG report from the Social Security Administration, there was $71 billion worth of fraud in one single fiscal year that we know about. And so that is a lot of fraud, Peter.
To be clear, that $71 billion was from 2015 to 2022, so it wasn't in just one year. And it was
$71 billion.
But it wasn't in one year, just over multiple years, 2015 to 2022.
So are you defending $71 billion in fraud, Peter? That's a lot of money. Why is the media so against cutting
waste, fraud, and abuse from the government. I don't get it.
I just want to ask you a question.
We won't be deterred. We will not be deterred from people.
So here's the bottom line. What actually went down here? Karoline Leavitt walked onto The View and challenged Whoopi Goldberg's defense of wokeness as a force for justice and progress, coming in ready and prepared to expose what she saw as its real flaws and contradictions. As the exchange played out, Levitt didn't just respond. She started steering the entire conversation and shifting the momentum firmly in her direction. And even now people online remain sharply divided, with some giving Levitt credit for delivering a strong and well-reasoned counterpoint while others believe Whoopi's argument still carried important and undeniable truth.